Hello, boys and girls. Happy Friday. I am really excited to be here with you today to do some language arts together. We are going to be reading an article in Storyworks and doing some work with that today. And you're going to be doing your spelling test, and you're going to do some writing that has to do with this article. So the article that we're reading today is called a debate. Now, you may have heard the word debate before, you may have even seen debates, but what it means to debate is to discuss something, and people might say argue, and it's not a bad argument, it's a good argument, and it means that you believe in something or you have an opinion on something, and you are going to back that opinion up with evidence, which means for example, in my class, we did Talk About It Tuesday, and we talked about whether a cat or a dog makes a better pet. And some of my students said that a cat was better, and they gave me reasons. For example, a cat you don't have to walk, especially when it's cold. A cat you can leave home longer by itself, things like that. And then on the side of the dog being a better pet, some of my students said, well, the dog is more loving all of the time, and a dog you can play with a lot more, things like that. So that is a debate. And remember, like I said, the whole goal is that it is friendly, and it is you have to have evidence to back up your reason, to back up your opinion. So if I just said, I like cats, end of story, that's not really convincing anyone of anything at all. So I would have to try to explain why. So today we're reading a debate, and it says, take a side. You're going to get to decide what side you agree with. Now, this little guy says, I want your treats. And it says, should you give up your Halloween candy? Some kids swap sweets for cash. Would you? So let's look at this. What do you think the main idea of this debate is? What do you think the main idea is? So if you said that it's giving up your Halloween candy for money, you are correct. Now, maybe you've heard of this, maybe you haven't heard of this, but you're going to read about kids who actually trade in their candy to get money for it. So would you do that? Would you not do that? So right now, before we read the article and before we read the reasons for why you might do this or why you might not do this, what do you think you would do? Do you think that you would trade in your Halloween money or Halloween candy for money? Or you think you would keep your Halloween candy? All right, so now that you have kind of thought about this, let's start to read the article. It was Halloween night. 8-year-old Julia had just come home from trick-or-treating, dragging a pillowcase stuffed with candy. As she sorted through the treats, her mother shared some surprising news. Julia's dentist was paying kids $1 for every pound of Halloween candy they turned in. This is becoming a popular idea. Everyone agrees that Halloween is a super fun holiday, and candy is a huge part of it. On the other hand, eating all those sweets isn't healthy. So people, like Julia's dentist, are finding ways to help kids cut back on Halloween treats. And now Julia had a big choice to make. Get rid of her sweets or eat them. Cutting out candy. If you sell your candy, you could use the money to buy something you really want, something that lasts longer than candy. There are also ways to help others with your Halloween treats. You could sell them and have them sent to U.S. soldiers living in another country. Another good reason to get rid of them, you won't have to worry about eating lots of candy for weeks or months. After all, the average 8-year-old eats 50 pounds of sugar each year, and that's too much. Keeping it all, plenty of kids don't want to give away their candy. All year they look forward to their Halloween stash. They would feel left out not having candy. Some kids like proving to their parents that they can take only a few small pieces each day. They learn how to control themselves, which is part of growing up. Julia decided to keep a few handfuls of her favorite candies, and she sold the rest. She got $7 and bought a notebook and colored gel pens. Her candy would have been long gone by now, but that notebook is still around. Back off, Spider. So what do Do you think, would you get rid of your Halloween candy? So we're going to go back to the article and we're going to find reasons to support each side. We've been talking about the main idea and the supporting details in a text. And we've talked about how it's important to be able to tell the main idea and supporting details because then you're really understanding what you're reading. This is sort of the same thing. We're going to figure out the main idea, which we know is, should you keep your candy? Should you sell your candy? And we're going to find supporting details for both of the opinions, why you should sell your candy and why you shouldn't. So let's go back here. This is the paragraph. This is where the paragraph starts for why you should sell your candy. So go ahead and tell me, what is one sentence you see here that has to do with why you should sell your candy? So we're going to highlight here, and it says, if you sell your candy, you could use the money to buy something you really want, something that lasts longer than candy. So that's one really good reason, right? You could buy a notebook like Julia did. You could save it for a toy that you really want, or maybe something that you've been saving for a long time. You could possibly even use money to buy something for someone else. Maybe you want to buy your mom or dad a present. Maybe you want to buy a toy for your dog. Who knows? Or, honestly, you could even use the money to buy a treat that you really like. Maybe you want to buy some ice cream, or maybe you even want to buy some more candy, just different kinds of candy. Who knows? So you can use the money to buy something you really want. That is one good reason, one good supporting reason for why that would be a good idea to sell your candy. So it says there's also other ways to help others with your Halloween treats. You could sell them and have them sent to U.S. soldiers living in another country. So that is another good reason that you can help others with your Halloween treats. So the example they give is you can actually give your candy to someone else who might need it. So if you sell it, a lot of those places will actually send the candy to people who might not be able to get candy. An example is U.S. soldiers. They're fighting, or they're away from their families and their homes, and sometimes they can't get a hold of their favorite candies or their favorite treats. And it's something that can kind of cheer them up a little bit, especially around, the holidays when they're really missing their families. So that is a second reason why it could be good to sell your candy. What's a third reason here? So I'll read the paragraph again and go ahead and rate what the third reason is. Another good reason to get rid of them. You won't have to worry about eating lots of candy for weeks or months. After all, the average 8-year-old eats 50 pounds of sugar each year, and that's too much. So did you find the other really good reason why you might want to sell your candy? If you said that you won't have to worry about eating lots of candy, that is correct. So it talks about how kids eat way too much sugar, and if you think about it, we get a lot of candy for Halloween. And not only that, Halloween comes right before some of the other holidays that you might celebrate, which also ends up in lots of sugar. So maybe it's not a bad idea to at least sell some of it. Julia sold some of it and she kept some of it. So maybe that's not a bad idea. So now we're going to look at reasons why it might be a good idea to keep all of your candy. So let's read this the first couple of sentences. So it says, plenty of kids don't want to give away their candy. All year, they look forward to their Halloween stash. So what is a reason in there why maybe they would want to keep their candy? If you said that they look forward to it all year, that's correct. And it's okay to look forward to something. You look forward to things all the time, and sometimes it's good to treat yourself a little bit, especially if you've waited all year long for it. So that's one reason. All right, let's read the next sentence. They would feel left out not having candy. So that is another reason. Now, some people don't celebrate Halloween and they don't feel left out not having candy. However, if you do celebrate Halloween and you look forward to it all year, then you might feel kind of left out when you go to school and all of your friends are eating candy or talking about eating candy, not eating candy at school, but they're talking about eating candy. Or maybe you go over to your friend's house and they have all kinds of candy and you don't have any anymore. So that is another reason why maybe you would want to keep it. Let's read the next sentence and see if you can tell me what the third reason would be for why you could keep your candy. Some kids like proving to their parents that they can take only a few small pieces each day. They learn how to control themselves, which is part of growing up. Did you find it? So if you said that this last sentence here is a third reason, that is correct. They learn how to control themselves, which is part of growing up. So controlling yourself is a really good skill to have. And I will say that when there's a lot of candy sitting there, even I have a hard time controlling myself sometimes, especially when it's my very favorite kinds of candies, like Reese's or Twix or M&M's. Oh, I have such a hard time sometimes. So when you are able to show your parents that you can be trusted to only eat maybe however many pieces they say a day, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, then that's awesome. I'll say my niece and nephew are young. My niece is 5 and my nephew is 3. And they my niece is old enough and she likes showing her mom that she can only eat 1 or 2 sweets a day. But my nephew is little and he sneaks them sometimes. So that might be a reason. If you can't control yourself, then maybe you shouldn't keep all of the candy. But if you can control yourself, then that's awesome. So Julia decided to keep a little and then sell the rest. So what would you do? Now we're going to talk about what would you decide? So we found our 3 good reasons to support why it would be a good idea, and we found our 3 reasons to support why it wouldn't be a good idea. So let's get our sticky note here. So 3 reasons for why it is a good idea is it can help other people. You can use the money to buy something you want. And remember, we talked about how depending on what you buy, it will last a lot longer than candy will. And it is healthier not to eat a lot of candy. Remember, everything in moderation. It's okay to eat some, but if you have a lot of it, maybe it's not the best choice. So there we go. We have a sticky note there with the answers. And then let's do one over here for the reasons for no. You look forward to the candy all year long. You might feel left out if you don't have candy, but your friends do. And you can learn self-control by not eating all of the candy at once. And even if you think about it, you might also be able to learn skills like sharing and things like that. If you have siblings, you might practice sharing or trading candy. That's also good skills to have. So definitely good skills that can be learned for both things. So now that we did this, you're going to go ahead and you're going to choose what you would want to do. Would you want to keep the candy or would you want to sell the candy? And you're going to write in your journal, you're going to write what choice you would make. So what would you decide to do? And try to give me 1 or 2 reasons why that would be a good idea. So for example, maybe you wouldn't feel left out. So maybe that's not a good reason for you. But maybe you would learn how to control yourself. So that would be a good reason. All 3 of these might not be good reasons. If you say that you would sell it, maybe what's something that you would want to buy with it? Or would you send your money somewhere else, or not your money, your candy somewhere else? Or do you have self-control here? Maybe if you aren't very good at self-control, like I said, I have a hard time when there's my favorite candies there. Maybe that isn't a good reason. Maybe you don't have that kind of self-control, so it's better just to have it out of the house. What you're going to do is you're going to write 2 to 3 sentences about it. So I'll give you an example. So I might say, you might start it by saying, I would sell my candy because, and then say why you would sell it. And then say, I would also want to do this because, and then give me another reason. And then if you have a third reason, or if you want to use the third reason from the text, you can definitely do that. I think that it is also a good idea because. Those are a few reasons why I might sell my candy instead of keeping it. And you could do the same exact thing. Oh, it won't let me type anymore. Instead of keeping it. So you can also do the same exact type of thing for if you decide you don't want to sell your candy. And you would say, I would choose to keep my candy because I would also want to do this because I think it's also a good idea because those are a few reasons why I might keep my candy. And remember, I said you can do a combination of the reasons that they give and your own reasons. Can you think of reasons why maybe you would keep or sell your candy that they didn't list here? So use a combination. Remember, text evidence is what you get from the text. So you can also say, maybe I would sell it because the text says, so remember, that's using our text evidence. However, you can also come up with your own ideas to support it. So have a really fun time writing, and I hope that you have a happy rest of your Friday. And I will see some of you on Monday. And the rest of you, I am doing our science curriculum for 3rd grade. So I will see all of you at some point next week. All right. Goodbye, boys and girls. Have a wonderful